What does it mean to be an empath? And what are some of the wounds empaths have that are keeping them stuck? We're going to talk about this in this series. But today, I really want to focus on what it means to be an empath because, like I said, a lot of people don't know that they're empathic and they think that they have depression or anxiety or that they just don't fit in this world or that they're procrastinators or they're not good at things or they're too sensitive or they're easily overwhelmed, and they don't realize that all of these things fit the mold of someone who's actually born with a sixth sense. And that sixth sense is that you can feel energy. So, because of that, maybe you feel when people are sick. Maybe you feel when someone is sad. Maybe when someone is having road rage, you feel like you're going to die. But we'll go over a little bit more of that in a minute. I really wanted to walk you through a little bit of my story and what it felt like for me as an empath to see if maybe you can relate to any of this. When I was really young, I would cry for no reason. I was very, very sensitive. Matter of fact, I have an older brother and an older sister, and they would often tease me and make fun of me about how sensitive I was. I would often cry for flowers that got trampled on or bugs that got killed. Or I remember one time being in my dad's station wagon driving through town, and I was kind of had my head against the window looking out. I was about 6 or 7. And I saw a little mommy squirrel leave some baby squirrels. And I was like amazed. And then I got thinking, what if the little mama squirrel gets hit by a car and she never comes back for her babies? And her babies are going to miss their mom. And it's like this over ability to put yourself in something or someone else's shoes that you believe to be living. And that could be a tree. It could be an animal, and it's 100% people. Have you ever had the experience of feeling bad for a cow being slaughtered or for someone that you love not getting a promotion? Not sympathy. I remember I was in nursing school doing my BA nursing, and we were in our first clinicals, and the instructor, before you go out into your clinicals, which is basically where you go and do the work, instead of the learning, you're now doing. But we had like this class that we would all meet in, and we were being introduced to our clinical textbook, and all the things that we were going to be learning. And the instructor was teaching us about empathy and sympathy, and she got it mixed up, and it really bothered me because she didn't know what she was talking about. Clearly, she wasn't an empath. But regardless, she was basically saying that you don't want to have empathy for your patients. You want to have sympathy for them. You want to understand you want to understand that it hurts and that you're sorry that it hurts, but you don't want to become hurt with them because that would make you ineffective in your job. And I remember thinking, well, I would think that being empathic or empathetic would make me better at my job because if I can put myself in that person's shoes, then I can serve them better. We're going to get to that in a little bit. So, have you ever felt like highly sensitive, not only to emotions, but to someone else's physical pain? Are you a physical empath where if someone else is sick, you actually feel sick? We see this in empathic men when their wives or girlfriends or whatever, their partners are giving birth. They start to, I forget what it's called. If you know what it's called, put it in the chat. I can't, I was just watching Grey's Anatomy and some dude was going through this, but um sympathetic something pregnancy or something. Um, that is an empathic person, and they're actually a physical empath where they can feel the pain of people in close proximity to them. I'm the kind of empath that if you are having an strong emotional experience, I will have that as well. So I can't be in the car with someone that's doing the road rage thing because I will feel like panic inside my body. Um, During COVID, I was constantly on edge because my whole city was on edge. And I didn't attribute it to that, except for the fact that I know that's how my empathic abilities work. Everyone's is different and unique. The only thing that we have the same is that we feel energy in different forms. So I have developed this skill with my clients and students when we are engaged in a meeting together. I can feel what they're feeling, and I can say, "Hey, I'm feeling X, Y, and Z. Can you tell me what that's about?" And then they can now translate what I'm feeling. Because just because I'm feeling it doesn't mean I'm in their head and I know why I'm feeling, right? A lot of times, also, people don't want to share that information. So they'll tell me that I'm wrong, but I know I'm wrong because I can feel it and it's not mine. I can also feel this. I'm a medium, so I can feel this with spirit. If a spirit comes in while I'm having a session with someone, I can feel what they are emoting or what they want to say or what they want to express. I not all the time can see them. If I can, it's they're trying very hard to help me with that. But more than that, I can feel them. And if you're ever been someone who's been in this session with me who's experienced this, you know exactly what I'm talking. Have you ever experienced maybe your empathic abilities, or maybe you don't even know that you have them, that something is off, something doesn't feel right? And I will argue that everyone has empathic ability. It's just that some people don't, they block it, they don't want to feel, they don't want to even be sensitive. So they might feel like something is off and work with that. And that's as far as they let it go. But if you know yourself to be an empath, you kind of can't control this. It's like, I know something's off and I can't ignore it, right? How about those of you who suffer deeply from anxiety and depression? And in the last video, I went off on a tangent about this, and I'm not sure that I could do it again because it's not in my notes. It's just my dealings with anxiety and depression as being an empath. A lot of the times we feel like something is wrong with us, and I would argue that the only reason that anyone, or empath in particular, that would feel get diagnosed with anxiety or depression is because they don't yet understand that clinical DSM-5 depression can be diagnosed at a time when anyone would be suffering from a depressive episode. What kind of episode is that? Imagine you are in the throes of a breakup with someone that you love, or you lost someone that is incredibly special and dear to you, and you'll never be able to replace them. I don't believe that you should be put on medication because you're having a justified normal reaction to that event or that experience. The problem comes when you start to believe that you are depressed. You have depression. I am depressed. Anything you put after the words I am, you're going to start manifesting. So you got to be very careful about the way that you treat your depression. I shouldn't even say your depression, the depression and anxiety, because if you look at it as something that is attacking you and attaching itself to you and becoming part of you, then you will manifest that. But if you otherwise choose to look at it as a coping mechanism that will resolve when you need it to, then you can totally dissolve your depression and anxiety. How do I know? Because I've done it. I suffered from not only major depressive disorder, but panic disorder and anxiety from 8 years old to 36 ish. And it was around 36 that I decided to throw out the medication and go through the battle that the medication, when you take medication for depression or anxiety, when you get off it, you're going to be faced with It's almost like when you cut yourself and you put a band-aid on it and you take the band-aid off while it's still bleeding, you're going to experience the sting, right? And until you're like, no, I'm not putting the band-aid back on, I'm going to let the scab form and I'm going to let it heal on its own. That instead of putting the band-aid back on because it's bleeding, or instead of taking the medication because the episode comes back, then you won't understand that this is just a coping mechanism and it will pass too. That is not something I'm doing in this series. I'm not helping anyone overcome their anxiety or depression. What I am here to do, though, is to help those of you who feel like you're stuck in life, who feel as if there is something more out there for you and you haven't been able to get there. And you just so happen to identify as an empath, or you have the symptoms and didn't know that that is what is going on with you. And the reason why I target this group is because I am this group and I can help best the people that I relate to and with the things that I've overcome myself. So that's what we're going to be doing in this series. The series for the empath is just for June. After June, we will be getting into other things. But during this series, we're going to be talking about not only like today, what is an empath and what does that look like? And then please go see the YouTube video as well. I think it's called the 15 reasons why you may be signs, 15 signs you may be an empath, something like that. But we're going to go through the wounds, all the wounds that the empath has, how that shows up, and how those wounds are preventing you from moving forward and instead keeping you stuck and away from a life that you love. Could you imagine having a life that you were not just existing, but you were actually living, like enjoying it, feeling understood, making connections, living in your purpose? That is what we are accomplishing here. Okay. So I want to, before I go, I want to talk about the gift and the curse. Everyone who understands himself to be an empath feels like it is a curse. They don't understand why them. Why has this happened to me? Why am I so different from everyone else? Why does no one understand me? How come I can't feel connection, deep connection with people? Or why do I always feel such things on such a deep level? And why can't I control it? And I would like to present you with a story to show you how your gift, your curse is a gift. You know, like I said, I grew up very ostracized. I even turned my sensitivity into something that would trigger anger. And so instead of people hurting me and me showing that outwardly, I changed it into me hurting them back. Or I shouldn't even say it. It wasn't really like that because I don't know as an empath if that's even possible because we would feel that pain too. But it was more like I became tough and I used my sensitivity as radar to protect myself and those that I love. And I became physically threatening to people. I, the more I hurt, the more I would hurt people. And I would get into relationships with people that were broken and needed fixing. And as I've healed and as I've grown, which is like, feels like, raise your hand if you agree or put that's me in the chat. It feels like your whole life is about healing yourself. At least that's the way I have approached this. Curse is that everything is a feedback. And if I could use that to understand myself, then I could heal and then I wouldn't need to heal others. But instead, what happened is I started attracting people to me, like you probably already do, that needed the healing. But instead of sacrificing me to fix them, I began using what they were experiencing as a mirror. Call it the mirror principle. Using what they were experiencing as a mirror to show what was active inside myself that still needed healing. And I would work on that. And as I would work on that, I started finding that by working on me, I was helping others, not by sacrificing me. And so the gift that came from being an empath was the gift to heal myself and in turn heal others. And it brought me into my life's purpose. Do you know how many people are so far away from their life's purpose because they don't have the ability to tap into something that is readily available for you? That is the gift, that you can turn this around. Not only can you heal yourself, but you can heal other people in the process. And I'm sure many of you have touched on that and have also experienced where you try to help someone and they reject you because of it. Those people are not the people I'm talking about. I'm talking about the people who readily come to you, are just in your energy. Your energy is enough to heal. Do you paint? Do you write? Do you meditate? Do you teach? Are you a hypnotherapist or a hypnotist? Are you a doctor? Are you a dentist? Are you did I say writer, author? I think I said writer. Are you someone who, a stylist, someone who does hair and makes somebody beautiful and they come and they sit in your chair and they talk to you? Pay attention to what they're saying because they may be a version of your higher self feeding you what you've asked for. You know, a lot of times the things that we ask for do not come in the form of the way that we asked for them. They come in the form of the way we need to experience them for the amount of growth that we're asking. It's a joke I have. I used to pray for strength. I've stopped doing that because when you pray for something, you get opportunities to create it. And I kept getting opportunities to create strength. And I was like, okay, I don't want that anymore. I'm strong enough. I got this. Now let's do the work. Right. So I'd really love to know who here thinks they might be or know themselves to be an empath. Just put "that's me" in the chat. Okay, I'm going to go over to Facebook and see what we got going on here. This time we are still live. That's great.